Good afternoon and welcome to Find Your Sparkle with Jen, where you'll be inspired, informed, and influenced. I'm your host, Jennifer Stewart, owner of Jazz Potential and creator of Find Your Sparkle. And today I am absolutely thrilled to have with us veteran holistic physician, Dr. Bradley Nelson, who is the creator of the Emotion Code and author of the best-selling book, The Emotion Code. Now, Dr. Nelson is one of the world's foremost experts on natural methods of achieving wellness. And over the past few decades, working as a holistic chiropractic physician in his studies of ancient medical practice and modern quantum physics, developed the Emotion Code, which is a system for releasing trapped emotions that block us from wellness. And I recently got certified as an Emotion Code practitioner. And I have to say, I am absolutely thrilled to have you on the show. Welcome, Dr. Brad.
Well, thank you, Jen. It's really great to be on your show.
It's fabulous to have you here. Now, part of what we do on Find Your Sparkle is share people's stories. Now, I've had several guests lately who've mentioned the Emotion Code, which is certainly piquing people's interest. And I'm absolutely thrilled that we're going to have more opportunity to delve into what the Emotion Code is all about. But can you back up a little bit and talk about where your life was heading initially, because you weren't set to be a chiropractic doctor or had no idea about the Emotion Code, and you were on a completely different track. Can you talk a little bit about that and what switched for you?
Yeah, I was. Well, I had been healed of kidney disease when I was 13 years old. And at that, by some alternative doctors, some holistic doctors who practice out on the edge of town. And I was really, really sick. And they did exactly what my body needed. And I started getting better right away. And it was an amazing thing. At a time when Western medicine had nothing to offer, right, for me. And so I decided at that time, 13 years old, this is what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be a doctor. And if I need to practice in a trailer house out on the edge of town in a muddy wheat field like these people do, that's fine with me, because these people seem to know what they're doing. When I was 13, I kind of decided that doctors who got results seemed to operate in clinics that didn't look like these really big, expensive clinics. They were different. I mean, that seemed to be the natural habitat of these doctors. Practicing in a wheat field out on the edge of town in a trailer house. And so, that was my plan. I was going to be a doctor and a healer like these people. As time went on, eventually I got involved in computer programming, and I became a computer programmer and got really involved in that and really involved in business. So I was about 6 months away from going into the master's program in business administration at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah. And my wife and I went home to Montana, where I'm from, and we're sitting around with my parents. And my father, just kind of out of the blue, said to me, are you sure that you don't want to go to chiropractic school? Because it seems like a great career. You've always wanted to do that. And I said, no, I'm going this other direction. I'm going to get my MBA and go to work for some big company or for the government. And he said, well,
live that dream.
Yeah. And he said, well, why don't you think about it one more time? So I thought, okay. So my wife and I made up a pro and con list, of going the healing route or going into the business, world. And it was kind of a long list on both sides. So I didn't know what to do. But I had learned at an early age that there's a higher power and you can ask for help. And so that night I got on my knees and I prayed and I asked God to help me to figure this out. If he had anything to say about this, suddenly I was back kind of in the middle of the fence. So I didn't know which way to go now, because I was either way looked appealing. And so that night I had this experience where I was awakened 3 different times. And each time that I was awakened, it was as if I'd been having a dream, but I would wake up and my mind would be full of all these warm thoughts about how great it is to be able to help people naturally and heal people and help people and serve people and so on. And I would think, well, yeah, but computers, So that happened 3 times that night. So the next night, I'm still not convinced. I'm on my knees again, asking God to help me figure this out. And I laugh because I'm so thick-headed, right?
So, sometimes you need a big, really big push, right?
Yeah, a big mallet. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Because on the second night, I woke up 3 more times.
Oh my.
And each time that I was awakened, the thoughts of service and helping people naturally and so on, those thoughts were exponentially more powerful each time until the third time on that second night when I was awakened. I mean, it was absolutely overwhelming. Thoughts of service to mankind and humanity and the whole entire planet. And it was just overwhelming. And right then I heard a voice that spoke to me and it said, "This is a sacred calling."
Oh my goodness.
Okay, I get it. And so that was the answer. So I've thought about that a lot, over the years. And at the time I didn't understand. All I knew is that, healing was the way for me to go. So I did. And I understand now, you see these physical bodies that we have literally are temples. He talks about that in the scriptures. I had an experience one day where I developed this habit when I was in practice of asking God to help me with each person that I saw, because I thought, well, God's gotten me into this. Maybe he'll help me. So it was
He's your partner.
What's that?
He was your partner.
He was kind of my partner, yeah. And it was an amazing thing because, when you ask for help, then you get that help. Usually it's so subtle that you don't necessarily recognize it in the moment, because oftentimes it comes as a little thought or an idea or an impression that you get that you think is your own, your own brain. Because all these voices that we hear, they're all in our own voice, right? But I'll tell you something, Jen, there were times during the years that I was in practice where somebody would come in to see me and I didn't know how to approach their problem, didn't know how to help them, didn't know what to do. And I would offer this silent prayer for help. That was my habit with everybody that I saw. And this was a totally private, totally personal thing. I would just take a moment and just ask God to help me with this person. But there were times when I would not know what to do and I would offer that prayer for help. And the information would just flood into me like an avalanche of data and understanding. It was an amazing thing. That didn't happen very often. I mean, 20 years that happened, I can count the times really on one hand. But I learned from that higher power, God, source energy, whatever. We all have different names for the higher power if we believe in a higher power, which, hopefully we do. Not all of us do, but I learned that higher power is totally aware of us all the time, what we're doing, because I got those answers and it was an amazing thing. Well, one of the things that I learned from those kinds of answers, but also from all the studying that I'd done of ancient methods of healing and other methods of healing, and any place that I could learn anything, I was just obsessed with helping my patients, which is, I think, what a doctor's job is, right? To help his patients.
Absolutely.
For patients. And yeah, that's what I was trying to do. And so it didn't matter to me if something was maybe old, or if it was maybe not necessarily accepted, or if it was something that was maybe even, frowned upon, whatever. I didn't care. If it helped people, that's all that I was trying to do. And so one of the things that I learned was that all of my patients, no matter how old or young they were, no matter what they were suffering from, whether it was something physical or mental or emotional, whether it was physical pain or depression or anxiety or phobias or panic attacks or PTSD or eating disorders or self-sabotage of some kind or infertility or asthma or digestive disorders. I mean, you name it, right?
The list goes on.
The list goes on. The list is practically infinite.
Right.
What I found is that all of those conditions and all of those people had something in common, and that was they all had emotional baggage. And so it took me a while to figure out what the emotional baggage was, but here's how to understand this, okay? These bodies of ours are really energy fields. We like to think that our bodies are physical and solid, and they are, and our bodies have weight and so on, but it's kind of an illusion. Einstein said that there really is no matter as such. He said, everything is energy, but matter is just energy that has been slowed down enough in its vibrational frequency that we're able to comprehend it and see it and feel it and so on.
And touch, right.
But it's all just energy. It's all the same thing. Well, so these bodies are energy. And when you're feeling an emotion, whatever emotion it might be, anger, resentment, depression, sadness, grief, etc., whatever emotion it is that you're feeling, if it's powerful enough, it can create this vibration in your whole being, and your whole being can be feeling this vibration. And on a quantum level, your whole body can be vibrating, your whole energy body can be vibrating at this frequency of whatever this vibration is, or whatever frequency that emotion is, like anger or sadness or grief or shame, whatever. And they're all different. They all have a different vibration. But sometimes that energy is just a bit much for us and it gets trapped.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And we call it a trapped emotion. And a trapped emotion is a ball of energy from about the size of a baseball, about the size of a softball, okay? Or maybe a small melon. And these things inhabit our bodies. And what they do is they cause two effects, really. They distort the normal energy field of the body. And when you distort the normal energy field of the body, that's all the body is an energy field. And so you're distorting the body itself, which is kind of a strange thought, but that's what happens. And so the chemical reactions taking place within a sphere like that, a little sphere of anger or resentment or grief, whatever it is, those chemical reactions are affected in some degree. The flow of energy through that sphere of emotion is affected. Blood flow, lymph flow, a lot of stuff is affected. And so this is the reason why trapped emotions cause so many physical problems for people, physical problems. They affect the physical body. When we find a trapped emotion and we release that trapped emotion, suddenly that distorting force is gone. And so suddenly those tissues can breathe normally again. They can function normally again. And that's why you have seen, I'm sure, the kinds of things that you have seen, right?
Oh my goodness. It is, it's absolutely amazing. And I mentioned just before we started that I love energy, and I've been fascinated with energy work, as long as I can remember. Even from a little kid, I would use my nose and I would think, I'm magic. I have magic powers, and everybody would make fun of me. But as I got older, and people still make fun of me because of energy stuff, and just because of me being me, which is all good. But what I loved when I was introduced to the emotion code a few years ago is how precise it was, and how quick it was, and how much sense it made to me. It blew my mind, because everything just started to fall into place. And it just was a huge epiphany for me, like, holy smokes, now I understand. This makes so much sense to me. And I worked in Reiki for years, and I love Reiki. But I have to say, the emotion code really drew me because of its effectiveness. And then the more that I learned about it, I thought, holy smokes, this is something I really need to do for me. And I can't wait to continue this conversation when we come back from our break. You're listening to CIOE 97.5 FM, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Find Your Sparkle with Jen, and welcome back, Dr. Brad. Now, before the break, we were talking about trapped emotions and releasing them and what they are, and the whole energy field. Now, a lot of people are still unfamiliar with energy and the quantum work and quantum physics. Can you talk a little bit about that and how energy works in that way? And why people shouldn't be afraid? It's not to be afraid of.
No, nothing to be afraid of, really. Quantum physicists like Albert Einstein have been trying to help everybody to understand now for over 100 years that our bodies really are just made of energy. And it's a little bit hard for most of us to wrap our heads around, because we live in this physical, three-dimensional sort of world. But think about this. Quantum physicists recently calculated that you could actually fit, if you could remove all the empty space that's in people's bodies, you could fit all 7.8 billion people on Earth into a little box the size of a sugar cube, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you hear things like that, it's just
what?
It's really amazing. But in quantum physics, of course, is the study of the smallest particles that make up everything in the universe. And what they have found is that there are some very, very interesting things going on at that smallest level. For example, one of the things that they have found is that those energies, the smallest energies that make up everything, actually behave differently depending on what the observer is expecting to see, for example. They've also found that in quantum physics, there are certain laws and certain things they talk about. One of those is called entanglement. And entanglement is where they have found that things can be linked together, energies can be linked together such that, for example, if they split an atom and they send one energy particle going west and the other one going east, many miles apart, if one of those particles is deflected in a big magnetic field, the other one is somehow, the sister particle is somehow connected, and it will also deflect at the same angle. So what they have found is that ultimately it's really true that all of us are all connected in this way, that we really truly are connected. And there are some other deep principles in quantum physics that I won't get into, but basically what's happening is that if you understand that we are really truly beings of energy, and that energy medicine or energy healing, such as the emotion code, is simply addressing our makeup for who we really are and what we really are. And we really truly are beings made of energy. So it's nothing to be afraid of. I mean, we've been living in this, what we might call a Newtonian view of things, going back to Sir Isaac Newton and the ideas and the laws that he created. But now we're trying to move into this quantum physics understanding. Right. And it's a little bit painful because it's so different, and it's kind of strange. I mean, the great physicist Richard Feynman said, if you don't think quantum physics is weird, you don't understand quantum physics.
I love that.
Just how it is.
That is true. So how does all that fit into these energy blocks and these trapped emotions? And I want to go back to, when did you figure this out, and how did you start coming up with all of these emotions to start putting them into the system and having these results?
Well, there's really nothing new under the sun. It was the Chinese physicians several thousand years ago who correlated different emotions with different organs and meridians in the body. And they correlated all of these things just through observation, thousands of years of observing people and seeing what was going on with people's bodies. So really that credit has to go to them. And so what I found, first of all, and how all of this works, is we now know how to tap into the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is where all the good information is. The conscious mind is where we live. We spend all of our waking hours, right? It's where we have our relationships and we take our tests and we work our jobs and so on. But that is a tiny percentage, really, of our total intelligence. The subconscious mind is vastly more intelligent, and it remembers everything you've ever done. Every face you've ever seen in a crowd, everything you've ever eaten or tasted or touched or smelled is all in there in that subconscious mind. So what we do in the emotion code is we teach people how to tap into the subconscious mind. And that might sound really esoteric and woo-woo, but it's actually not. It's actually really, really simple. And when we ask those questions and get those answers, then the subconscious can show you what's really going on. And it's a simple process of asking yes or no questions and using typically some kind of a muscle test. The body will be stronger if it's giving a yes answer than if it's giving a no answer. And so what we do is we teach people how to distinguish between that strong answer for yes and a slightly weaker answer for no. And you can ask anything that you want. And it works so well that during the last 10 years of my practice, for example, most of the people that I saw had been told there was really no hope for them at all. And yet the vast majority of them, with just a couple of exceptions, were able to get well. And people are using this now literally all over the world and have been for many, many years. I didn't come up with this, but it's just a simple way of asking questions and getting answers from the real intelligence that is actually within each one of us. And that's the part of you that can take your breakfast and can convert that into new red blood cells or new cardiac muscle tissue or whatever you need. I mean, it's a level of intelligence that is so far beyond our ability to comprehend that we haven't even started really trying to comprehend it, I don't think.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, you did have a really amazing discovery with the heart wall. Can you talk about that? Because that is absolutely amazing and fascinating. And I felt for me personally, when I had my heart wall removed, I felt so much more alive. I felt
Yeah.
energetic. I felt lighter.
Yeah.
Everything felt like everything was kind of coming together for me.
Yeah. It's really such an amazing thing. And I never in my wildest dreams would have ever come up with something so crazy or so unusual. What happened was my wife had a dream, and as I was trying to help her decipher her dream one day in 1998, I had this vision, this waking vision, where I saw a hardwood floor in front of me instead of the room that I was in, and understood that her heart was underneath this floor. And I had no idea what this meant, but we figured out that when she was 2 years old, she was born into a very volatile family. And at 2 years old, she started putting up a wall around her heart. Her subconscious was putting up a wall to protect her heart from being totally broken. Now, if you think about this, yeah, see, we know now the heart is a second brain. And when you're feeling really deeply hurt or really deeply grieved about something, you'll feel it here if it's real, right?
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Yeah, and that's where those words like heartache and heartbreak come from. Well, if you feel that more than once or twice, sometimes once is enough, the subconscious mind will start to put up a wall. And that wall is literally made from layers of your emotional baggage, the trapped emotional energies that are in your body from the life that you've been living, and sometimes even from the life of your ancestors, because some of these will be inherited from them. And so when that wall is taken down, and it's the most important part of the emotion code, really. When you take down those walls, and you can learn how to do this yourself or have somebody help you do it, what you're doing is something that is oftentimes so powerful and so life-changing. People often fall in love who never thought they would, even in their 80s and 90s, believe it or not.
Wow.
We have people. People's creative ideas start to flow because you see, we all have two brains. The vast majority of us, 93% of people on this planet, have this wall around their heart. And so the whole entire planet is dysfunctional because of this, because we're all operating from the brain up here. This brain feels nothing. This is the brain, the heart brain. And by the way, your heart now, they've discovered, is full of gray matter and white matter, just like this brain. And this brain in your heart is sending messages. They've proven this. It's sending messages continually to the brain up here. Your brain up here is obeying the messages sent by the brain that is in your heart. But if you've got a wall around that heart from growing up in an abusive household or from going through a divorce or whatever it might be, then your whole ability to create the life you want is going to be interfered with. So when that wall is taken down, creative ideas start to flow for people, and people feel lighter, like you said that you did. And I mean, sometimes it's dramatic what happens with people, and it's so much fun. And it's something that is so important. It is important to the transformation of this world, you see, because the way I look at it, the earth is in labor right now. It's trying to give birth. It's like the last stages of birthing.
Yeah.
It's trying to give birth to this new world where people are actually living from their heart. People have been living from their head for thousands of years. And we're still there, but we have to change from that. And this is part of that. If we can remove enough walls from enough people's hearts, the whole world is going to transform, you see, and people have seen it. So this is part of that. It's transforming people's lives on an individual level, but it's also then ultimately transforming the whole world. And it's something that you can do yourself. You can learn how to do it yourself. You can remove the heart walls from your own family, from your loved ones. Or you can go to discoverhealing.com and find a practitioner that can work with you. Jen's a practitioner. You can have her help you.
Yes. Well, and it's interesting because we're almost out of time right now, but I wanted to say that I didn't have a choice, I felt, but to become certified. I knew at some point I would, but the universe was throwing signs at me all of the time. Well, you know what, Jen, you can't wait, do it now. And I have to say that it is such an honor to be able to do this work and to see the difference that it's making in people's lives. So I'm with you, and I will help to promote this. But before we go, I do have one final question for you. And for those of you who are interested in learning more, we're going to have a bonus section that's going to be uploaded to the podcast. But my final question for you today before we go is, what makes you sparkle, Dr. Brad?
Oh gosh, seeing the changes that are happening in people's lives all over the world. Every single day we get testimonials from all parts of the earth from people who are using the emotion code, using the body code, seeing amazing, incredible things happen, seeing miracles happen with themselves, their loved ones, their friends, their clients, their animals. And those come in every single day. And so what we do is every day we post one of those to our website at discoverhealing.com. And every Monday morning at 9 a.m., we get all of our staff together for a half an hour. And one of the things that we do is we read the 3 most recent ones that have come in. And that is just the most beautiful thing for us, because really seeing the transformation that's happening in this world. I mean, this isn't about me. It's about the higher power that has just been operating through me to bring this work into the world. It's time for us to take back our abilities to heal each other and ourselves. And there's no easier way to take back that power than with this work.
Oh my golly, that is absolutely fabulous. It has been such a pleasure and my honor having you here today. Thank you so much, Dr. Brad. You're listening to CIOE 97.5 FM. And remember to go out and do something that makes you sparkle today and every day. We'll catch you next time, friends. Bye for now. Welcome to the bonus section with Dr. Brad. It's so awesome that you agreed to have a couple extra, some extra time with me here today. I have so many questions, but one of the questions that keeps popping into my mind is, those people who've been told that they had no hope for recovery, and you gave them their life back. Can you talk about, that whole process of being able to help them clear that, and any of the, I'll give you an example. One of my best friends has fibromyalgia, and I gave her a session the other day, and she had some weird kind of sensations afterwards, which kind of worried her a little bit. So I was explaining about processing, and that, sometimes your body is just releasing things that are, you have a lot of stuff that's in there. So things are going to come to the surface. And sometimes you may have, that process a little bit of a challenge processing them because they're uncomfortable and they could be there forever. Can you talk a little bit about, helping people to get past that and recognizing that, what, there is hope for you, but there are going to be some things that may surface along the way?
Well, yeah, that's definitely true. What you said is that it's a processing period that people go through when they start getting work done. And sometimes people don't get better right away either.
Right.
Sometimes it takes time. To give you an idea how this can work, there was a patient that came into me once who had fractured. She had a compression fracture in her low back. Her third lumbar vertebrae on a side view should look like a square, and it was like a triangle. It had collapsed. And she told me that 4 years before, she was visiting a friend who was having an open house and for her new home. And so at a certain point, she was wandering around, looking around this person's house, and got up on the second floor and walked out onto the balcony, but the balcony hadn't been installed yet. And so she fell about 10 feet and landed on these boulders on her rear end and broke her back. And so for 4 years, she'd been in all this pain. So she came in to see me, And I was back when I was in practice, I took an x-ray of her back and I said, well, just because your back looks like this, certainly doesn't look normal, but I said, just because it looks like this doesn't mean you have to be in all this pain all the time. And so we started working with her. And I worked on her for about, I can't remember now, I think it was about a month, or between a month and maybe 6 weeks or something. And we were clearing a lot of trapped emotions from that area of her body. And she had been sexually abused as a child. She knew that and had memories of that and everything. And a lot of the emotions we were clearing were from the abuse that she had undergone. Well, but the pain level wasn't changing. Right. And so she would come in and I would ask her subconscious mind through muscle testing, what do we need to do today? And we would clear whatever we could. And then when we were done, her subconscious mind would basically say, yeah, that's it. I'm done. I'll see you next time. And, but her pain level wasn't changing. So after a number of weeks of this, one day she comes into me, into my office, and she said, listen, I'm going to go to physical therapy because I'm not really getting help here. My pain level isn't changing. And I remember I pulled her into my x-ray room and I shut the door and I said, look, I kind of got a little bit in her face and I said, listen, I said, you can't do this. I said, you can't stop. I said, we're so close to figuring this out. Right. That you can't do this to you and you can't do this to me. You can't stop now. We're close, so close. So she said, oh, okay, fine. So it was on, not that visit, but I think it was on the next visit that we had cleared away enough of the archaeological debris, all this emotional baggage, that we finally got to the underlying core issue for her. And you'll never guess what it was. It was a parasite called toxoplasmosis, which people get from cats. Sorry, that's why they say women should never change a litter box, right? Right. And because it can go into the body and cause trouble. Well, what had happened was she had a cat, and cats carry this organism. It had gotten into her body. She had broken her back. And so this organism had gone into this weak area of the body and kind of set up housekeeping. And so we had to give her some things to help her body get rid of that. And within about 24 hours, she was out of pain. See? Holy cow. Yeah. And so you never know how long it might take someone to get well. Luckily, lots of the time, people get better right away, but sometimes they don't. And you see, really what it's about is during the years I was in practice, I figured out that there are really 6 different kinds of imbalances that we suffer from. And we have a program called the Body Code. It's in the Discover Healing app that you can download online. The Body Code is basically a way it's like a knowledge base that enables you to find out, what kind of imbalances are going on in these 6 areas. But it's an amazing thing. The subconscious mind knows exactly what's going on. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you another story really quickly. I had a woman that came in to see me who had been hospitalized for 5 days with this mysterious pain in her lower abdomen. And they had run every test known to man on her, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And so they finally released her from the hospital and just said, well, we can't help you. All the tests were negative, and so that's all they could do. So she came in to see me, and I started working with her using this program, the Body Code, to try to figure out, in other words, I'm asking her subconscious mind, which is the ultimate resource, right? Her own personal computer, why she's having this terrific pain. And on a 0 to 10 scale is about a 9. So she's really in severe pain. And so I cleared some trapped emotions and some other things. And one of the things that I found using the Body Code, I was taken to this area where you can identify nutrients that the body needs. And the subconscious mind will tell you that it needs certain things. And so I got to that section and found that she needed chromium. And I just thought, well, some kind of an incidental thing. She needs a little chromium. I didn't think it had anything to do with the current situation. And I said, you need some chromium. I said, we're out of it. Pick some up at a health food store. Not a big deal. So she comes in the next day, and she's actually worse. And I remember thinking that she must have appendicitis. They must have missed it in the hospital. I don't know how they could have missed it. And she was really in pain, even worse than the day before. I didn't know what else to do. So I started asking questions of her subconscious mind. And I was taken right to that same area, right to chromium. And only at that moment did I remember, oh yeah, we saw that yesterday. And I said, okay,
Oh.
your subconscious mind is trying to get the message through that you really need chromium. I said, I don't know why. Okay. But I want you to leave my office right now, go down the street to the health food store, buy some chromium, ask them for some water. Don't even wait. Go ahead, open the bottle and take some right there. 20 minutes later, this woman is jumping up and down in my waiting room.
Wow.
And she's saying, I'm fixed. I can't believe it. The instant that she took the chromium, the pain just vanished. And she said, how did that work to me? And I said, I don't have any idea.
Wow. You're the conduit.
Yeah. I said, I don't know. I have no idea. I still have no idea why that worked. But I said, luckily, your subconscious mind knew what luckily I was able to interpret, what your subconscious mind was trying to say. But see, the beauty of this work now, the emotion code and the body code, is that the subconscious minds, that computer that is internal to every single one of us now, is finally being given a voice, so it can actually tell us
that's incredible.
What we really need. Yeah.
I love that. That's a really great way to think about that, because you think, I love the way, how inquisitive you are. And can you talk about, do you have some hints and tips on asking those right questions? Because sometimes, and I know that it'll probably come, but to think, wow, like you're so intuitive with that. Did that just come naturally to you, or with practice, or how do you, what can you say about that?
No, it's really, when you learn the emotion code and the body code, your intuitive abilities will expand and get better and better. But most people aren't really tuned into their intuitive abilities very much, and you don't really need any intuition to begin using this work. However, I'll tell you this, and I know that you've seen this happen yourself, but everybody says that when they start using the emotion code or the body code, either one, before long, they'll have this experience where they'll be working on something, and all of a sudden, a split second before they get the answer on some kind of a muscle test, for strong for yes, weak for no, the answer will suddenly be in their mind. They'll know what the answer is. And then sure enough, a moment later, they'll verify that's what it is. That is your intuition just speaking to you. And so muscle testing is like training wheels for your intuition, okay? And the more you do this kind of healing work, the more your intuition will be able to be identified. The more powerful your intuitive abilities will be. I have a daughter who just turned 21. She learned how to do muscle testing, learned how to do the emotion code when she was 13. And she started having great results with her friends and her friends' parents and so on. And after about a month of using muscle testing, she realized, I don't really need to use muscle testing because the answers are all, they're already coming to me. And so she hasn't used muscle testing since then.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, we all can develop those intuitive abilities. But the bottom line is that within every single one of us is this incredibly powerful computer that has all the answers already to what's really wrong with us. And I mean, if you think about it, if you think about Western medicine and what we're used to, all of us in the West are kind of conditioned, really. We're programmed by the media to think that if we have some kind of a problem, we need some kind of a drug to address the problem. Well, that's just marketing, see? Western medicine, right? Western medicine is fantastic at acute problems. I mean, if you don't make it over the train tracks quick enough and your leg is over there, get to the hospital and likely they'll be able to reattach your leg and reattach the nerves and everything. It's unbelievable what they can do. Western medicine is great at acute problems like that, and there's always going to be a need for that, I think. But for the rest of us, the rest of the time, what we really need is to access that internal computer within each one of us and find out what's really going on. What are the underlying imbalances that need to be corrected? Do you have some kind of a viral or fungal or bacterial thing going on that's a low grade thing? Do you have misalignments going on somewhere in the body? Do you have imbalances in the organs or the glands? Do you have emotional baggage or traumas or things like that? Do you have things that have been inherited from ancestors to be released? I mean, do you have nutritional deficiencies? What's going on really? And so if you look at Western medicine, basically what they do, if you've got some kind of symptoms, they wait until you've got symptoms, and then they'll generally give you drugs to suppress the symptoms. But the symptoms are the body's way of communicating that something is wrong. See?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like one of my doctor friends once said that symptoms should be the beginning of a dialogue, right, with the subconscious. And I totally believe that. In fact, it doesn't matter. The symptoms, when we talk about symptoms, we normally think of things like pain and nausea and things like that. But really, anything less than you being in a state of abundance with love and money and health is a symptom. Okay. If you can't find your soulmate, that's a symptom. There are imbalances going on inside of you that are creating that. It's not about other people. It's about you. If you can't, if your bank account seems like it's got holes in it and the money's always draining out, well, that's a symptom. That's just as much of a symptom as it is as migraine headaches might be. See? And so there are imbalances going on. And so that's really what this work is about, is it's about removing those imbalances. Here's another way to think of it, okay, Jen? If you think of the body itself as an energy field, when we come into this existence, generally speaking, most of us have a pretty clear energy field. We might have some little inherited things going on. But as time goes on, we develop more and more of these. And you can think of every kind of an imbalance. Especially think of trapped emotions, for example. Every trapped emotion is a little ball of energy. It's like a little ball of darkness in your energy field. And as you start to remove these little areas of darkness, what's left? This pure energy, pure spirit. And so what people find is that the more emotional baggage, the more imbalances they release, the lighter they feel, right? And the more they're able to really get back to who they used to be or who they really are intended to be. And that's what this is about, you see.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Right? That makes sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I love that. We are meant to be in harmony. I mean, without all of these other things that are happening to us, and we're such a reactive society. And I love that, you're really making a difference in helping people step into that, some of the unknown to people and making it accessible to people and not as scary, not as intimidating, but fun. I mean, I have to say, I have a heck of a lot of fun playing with the emotion code and, all these questions. I remember as a kid thinking, how am I going to access the rest of my brain in there? Like all that stuff is in there. How am I going to get to that?
Right.
So, it was funny because I hadn't thought about that, like thinking that as a kid until we were talking, and it just popped into my head. And I thought, oh my golly, this is part of the answer here is you're helping to access some of that.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I used to have that question back when I was in school. My instructors would say things like, the brain's the most amazing computer in the universe that we know of. And I would think, well, if it's really a computer, are we going to be able to access it someday? And now we can. And the answers are all there. So.
Oh my goodness, this is incredible. I know that we're almost out of time, but do you have anything else that you would love to add for our audience?
Well, we talked a little bit before about the earth kind of being in labor, right? And there's a whole new level of existence that the earth is trying to produce, right? And so when you see all the chaos going on in the world and all the darkness in the world, don't be discouraged. Think of the yin yang symbol, and there's the light side and the dark side, right? And as darkness seems to get darker, the light side is going to get lighter, because the dark and the light always have to stay in a state of balance, you see. And so you can rest assured that as darkness increases, light is increasing too. And light always drives out darkness. We know how the story ends. We know how it's all going to work out. And so this is a time to get your life in order, get things arranged in your life, start getting rid of your emotional baggage. You probably have a heart wall, like 93% of people do. Figure out what, read the emotion code, hire a practitioner, hire Jen. She can help you. You can take down that wall and open up that heart of yours again to love and become a better instrument for that higher power, and step back into the shoes of the person that you really are supposed to be. And then you can really start making a bigger difference in the world. This world, I'm telling you right now, I believe unimaginable things that are good are going to happen. And I don't think it's going to be very long either. The things that we're seeing right now are these old constructs, these old power systems that have held sway in this world for so long. And I think what we're seeing really I think we're seeing the death spasms of those old control systems that want to keep mankind enchained and in slavery. And those things, they'll have their day, then that's all going to break apart for them, I think. And good things are coming. So
I agree 100%. Wholeheartedly. And I'm really looking forward to this awakening. And I love that you're playing such a huge role in helping people with that. And I look forward to sharing with the emotion code with lots of other people too. So I want to thank you so much for being here. It has been an absolute pleasure. And I look forward to the next time when we get to have another conversation.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking this time to talk to me, and I appreciate you for all that you're doing and all the great work that you're doing in the world. And I appreciate all the people that have listened or are listening to this or watching this, and just realize that we're living in a phenomenally wonderful time. Really, yes, we're seeing things that are crazy and so on, but it's okay. It's all going to work out.
Make that little shift and think about all the wonderful things yet to come. Thank you so much, Dr. Brad. Have a great one.
Hey, you're so welcome. You too. Take it easy. We'll do this again. All right.
Absolutely. Hugs and sparkles coming to you.
Thank you, Jen.
Bye
See you later.
Bye for now, everyone. See you.
Bye-bye.